Centre. And I would like to acknowledge the traditional custodians, the Diriganj people of the Yuin Nation, on whose land I'm sitting, and I know people are all over the place, and it's been a big part of our National Science Week to acknowledge the traditional custodians, elders past, present and emerging, and to extend those acknowledgements to every Aboriginal person present today. So just in terms of some housekeeping, I would also like to acknowledge Inspiring Australia New South Wales and Jackie Randalls, the Science Hub model through which we've organised this Sapphire Coast Science Festival is a work in progress that Jackie's been putting a lot of energy and enthusiasm into. And we're very fortunate here on the far south coast. Our group, the Sapphire Coast Regional Science Hub Sustainability Education Network, with the acronym SCRETSON, we really need to change that. There's so many good people that are doing lots of good things with science. And today we're fortunate to have Libby here, Libby Hepburn from the Atlas of Life in the Coastal Wilderness. Libby's done all the fantastic work getting our wonderful week of activities organised. And just as a quick reminder, if I quickly share my screen, we have got, that's the one I was editing. We have got a Science Coast, Sapphire Coast Science Festival page, and all the presentations that have been on, we've got video recordings there with links, and there's a whole range of stuff. It's just fantastic what's on there. And yesterday we had nest boxes, and their information has just been uploaded there to the website. So, you can click on that and download the document with the notes on constructing nest boxes. So that's what it's all about. It's about putting people in contact with scientists, people working, using science in their daily life and finding out about the world around them. So without any further ado from me, make sure you use the chat and put your questions in the Q&A, and I'll hand over to your moderator, which is Libby, I think.
It certainly is, and poor old Libby's now trying to do 3 things at once, which is but not easy. Sorry about this. Welcome everybody. Today we've got a very interesting and important program that we're talking about. This is the Forest Monitoring and Improvement Project, and I would like to talk a bit about what the Atlas is and why the Atlas has been invited to be a partner with this project. So if I could share the screen, I think my computer's playing up a bit, so you'll have to forgive me, but hopefully this will work.
We're not seeing anything so far.
But a bit slow, I'm afraid, Doug, because I was trying to send it to you, so it was out of action for a little while. Here we are. Yes, this is good.
We're not seeing it though. You'll have to try share. Oh no, here we go. It's catching up. Well done.
Thank goodness for that. Yes, this was just an amazing picture that I wanted to show Geeta, because some of the work that we're about to be involved in is to do with motion sensitive cameras, and this is the most amazing photo shot that I've ever seen from one. A spotted quoll looking like a thylacine, and aha, come on, beastly thing. Aha, here we are. This is what we're talking about today. We've been invited by the Natural Resources Commission. The Atlas of Life project's been invited to partner with them as a priority partner in this large-scale project that they've got going on. And I've put the website up there for you to have a look at, because there's a lot of really interesting information about the background to this project and why the approach to this work on forest monitoring and improvement is very different from anything else. So I'd like you to wish us a happy birthday, please, because if you look at this poster, I don't know if you can actually, whoops, I don't know if you can actually see that, but it was August 19th, 2011, when our project started, the Atlas of Life in the Coastal Wilderness. So we've been going 10 years today, and I'll tell you a bit about what our project is and what citizen science is. When we set the project up, it was because we wanted to build a database of biodiversity for our region, because we think it's a particularly fantastic region, and we also want to encourage people to spend time in nature because we think it's really important. We want to build a community of interest to encourage people to explore, learn, and record what they see. But these two, with respect to this particular project, are the really important ones. We want to build a community of practice with individual and group expertise, and to work in partnership with our natural resource managers and scientists. And that's what we said 10 years ago. So this is what we've been working on, and this has been our approach for the last 10 years. And just a quickie to look at where we are with that. If you like, the data output of the project is largely to do with the database of biodiversity. And over 10 years, we've got 35,000 records and about 800 observers. So, and this covers all of biodiversity. You can see some from the recent observations. They're marine things as well as land things, so birds as well as plants. And over the 10 years, we've run lots and lots and lots of community engagement projects of various sorts. We've run different things at different times for different with different target audiences, and we've developed a group of community members and moderators, experts in different areas who work with us. And that's what gives strength to the project. I don't have time to go through it, but we've done all sorts of things. And do look at our website to see what we're up to. The thing is to get people out there, to get them involved in doing things. So this is what we do, spend most of our time doing. And one of the things that is really important to us is obviously the place where we are, the place where we live, and the place where we enjoy nature. And our forests are sorry about this, our forests are very important to us. We've got a whole range of different kinds of forests here, different kind of ecosystems and habitats, and people are fascinated by learning more about them. And of course, we've had, like many other places, we've had terrible bushfires. And people are very concerned and very interested to know what's happening and to know what happens next and how we can enhance the forests, the lifeblood, if you like, of our natural communities here. Some of the things that we've seen that we've been very interested in, we've run things ourselves. We've looked at fire fungi after the fires, but our sister project in the ACT is involved in real science. They've run a project on fire and orchids on Black Mountain in Canberra, and they've done research looking at different orchids, and they've got the background information about the control burnings that have gone on there to see what difference it makes. And they've learned an awful lot from that, their community has. So it's one of the things that I've been sad about, is that we haven't until now been able to attract scientists much to work with us. So we haven't got our community involved in any serious long-term science, other than going out and recording what we see and talking and bringing expert scientists here to talk to our people. And we know around the world that citizen science is going gangbusters. There are projects to do with monitoring and improvement all around the world, and the value of getting people on the ground to look at ground truthing, to record biodiversity, is amazing. So we know that there's a huge community out there that are already engaged in this. There is lots of skills and expertise that have been developed in this area. So we're extremely, whoops, there was that one again. We're extremely pleased and honoured really to be invited to join this DPI Natural Resources Commission Forest Monitoring and Improvement Programme. That's a really, really important thing, because it's the first time that we've been invited to be involved in producing, looking at science, learning new skills for a particular, to build up evidence to help us with forest monitoring and improvement, resource management. And it's really interesting to see why this forest monitoring and improvement program has been established. And this is taken from the website. And the Premier of New South Wales said it's because the community is demanding reliable and trusted evidence, the New South Wales government is responding with this project, leveraging research and expertise across the community and industry, and delivering independent advice on how forest management can be improved. And this research is over all 10 years. So it's not just state forest, it's not just national parks, it's private forests, council forests, and crown forested land. And it's a big project. It's 9.2 million over 4 years. So it's a substantial thing we've been invited to be involved with. And this is the vision. It's about connecting the data and using citizen science data alongside other scientists' data. It's scaling up the impact so that the scientists who can't possibly hope to do their work over the whole of this area can scale up what we know and how detailed we know things. And it's about connecting the community. So it's this development of partnership, which we think is extremely important for our area and for the management of the natural resources. So we feel it's really important to be part of this. And I'd like to now hand over, Doug, I'd like you to, if you can, play this video that we have of a similar sort of project in the US, which Geeta found for us. If you could do that, that would be lovely.
I will try, Libby, and one of the things that we've worked out is that Zoom is not as good as we would like it to be for looking at videos. So if you've got any tips on that, you know, put them in the...
Increase the biodiversity in this area.
And we get all over the forest. Most of our work occurs in the Gifford-Pinchot National Forest. Sometimes we're up in the Mount Adams area, sometimes we're over in Mount St. Helens, up near Mount Rainier. The information we collect on the citizen science trips is used to help inform our work. We also share this information with the Forest Service to help them prioritize their restoration and their conservation efforts.
Today we came out and serviced some wildlife cameras to see what kind of wildlife is in the area.
Oh, check it out.
The bear was actually going after the lure. A lot of fun.
How did you go?
Oh, that was pretty good. That was pretty good. Thanks, Doug. So now we'll hand over to our partners and collaborators from the Natural Resources Commission. First of all, we've got Cassie, who's an ecologist with a background in ecological consultancy and government. And she's now working with the Natural Resources Commission, leading the full work and guiding the citizen science strategy under the New South Wales Forest Monitoring Improvement Programme. And Cassie's passionate about Australia's biodiversity and achieving ecologically sustainable outcomes and providing practical solutions to challenging ecological issues. She's also one of us. She's an avid volunteer and has been assisting the annual National Parks and Wildlife surveys of the mountain pygmy possum in Kosciuszko National Park for over 12 years, as well as other citizen science projects. And the other collaborator we have here as a panelist is Gita Ortak, and who is also a project manager, and she specializes in evaluation as well as the design and delivery of environmental projects that focus on wildlife conservation and citizen science. She has her own consultancy, helping people with tools and processes to make sure their projects are a success. And she uses a blend of current project management and evaluation approaches to bring the best of both worlds to project designs. And she's providing coordination for this project. So we're very pleased to have both of you here today. And I'll now hand over to Cassie, who's going to tell us about the detail of the project and how you can get involved. We actually are looking for citizen scientists to get involved in this project. So Cassie, over to you.
Thanks, Libby, and hi to everybody that's online. So my name's Cassie Thompson, and as Libby said, I'm working with the Natural Resources Commission on the Forest Monitoring and Improvement Program. And today I'm going to just be talking a little bit about our Forest Eye program, which is part of the Forest Monitoring and Improvement Program, and how we're creating impact by connecting citizen science to decision making. So I wanted to first provide a little bit of an overview of what the Forest Monitoring and Improvement Program is. I know that Libby's already touched on it, so some of this might be a little bit repetitive, but bear with me. And then we'll chat about the role of citizen scientists in the program and how you can get involved. So the New South Wales Government established the Forest Monitoring and Improvement Program in 2019. And the Premier tasked the program to provide independent and open evidence on forest management and performance. It's a statewide cross-tenure program, so it includes state forests, national parks, private native forests, and Crown forested land. And New South Wales forests cover over about 20 million hectares, so it's really big. The program responds to community concerns about the health of New South Wales forests and whether there is sufficient and reliable information available to track its health and productivity and the biodiversity that it supports. So the program will improve the evidence base for decision making for forest management across tenures and strengthen the New South Wales Government's ability to strategically and adaptively manage forests over time. But the FMIP is more than just a monitoring program. It's really about collaboration, partnerships, and joining up science to collect the data needed to provide insights to inform government management and also for decision making. So the program is overseen by a multi-agency steering committee, including all relevant forest and land management agencies. We're also working really closely with research organisations and community organisations to partner up on specific monitoring and research projects. And one of the key outcomes of the program is to harness and integrate citizen science data. We partnered with the Australian Citizen Science Association, or ACSA, to develop our citizen science strategy. And the strategy identifies the best ways to harness citizen science to support the program. It sets out a really ambitious but powerful outcome, which is to enhance the ability for citizen science data to contribute to and influence evidence-based decision-making. So how do we integrate citizen science into the Forest Monitoring and Improvement Program? Connection and impact are a key theme across our three objectives, as is forming collaborative partnerships. The program is investing in ways to integrate, use and scale up citizen science data for forest management. We aim to identify and actively support citizen science initiatives that can help address the program's statewide evaluation questions, while facilitating public engagement and improving the public confidence in the program. The endpoint is strengthening participation in evidence-based decision-making. So the program has 9 questions to focus the investment and the projects. As you can see here, they kind of range from biodiversity to water, soils. We've got carbon balances as well as Aboriginal values and social impacts too. Forest Eye and the Fauna Monitoring Pilot aims to provide data into the future to assist with answering the question around the occupancy and distribution of forest-dependent fauna and what their trajectories are. We've used comprehensive fauna survey data sets from the 1990s to create occupancy and distribution baselines for a range of fauna species. But to compare these trends in occupancy from then to now, we need to have similar and contemporary data to be collected across the state. So for occupancy to be analysed, we need repeat visits to the same sites through time. While there have been several projects focused on individual species, such as those for saving our species or that are monitored as part of forestry operations, there's been a general lack of a comprehensive fauna survey undertaken at the same scale as that 1990s data set. So we decided we needed to establish a comprehensive cross-tenure fauna monitoring network to track species occupancy through time and to provide the basis for decision-making into the future. And we identified that the monitoring network needed to be targeted for key forest-dependent species and needed to be consistently applied across tenures with limited resources. And it needed to be long-term and ongoing despite funding cycles, which is something that will continue beyond the Commission's role in the project. So the first step in establishing the fauna monitoring methods was identifying which key species we wanted to target. We established a species prioritisation process, which identified the key forest-dependent species that were likely to be sensitive to disturbances and could be used as indicators of change. Where possible, species were also chosen so that the sampling could be cost-effective and where possible using remote devices, which would ensure that data was collected consistently across the tenures. And this is what the survey methods we developed look like on the ground. It's a grid-based sampling protocol that was established by a working group consisting of species experts and government agency heads. So there was a whole heap of people sitting in a room together talking about what the best ways might be to monitor our fauna in the forest. And this is what we've come up with. So fauna data is going to be collected using 3 types of remote devices. We've got cameras, ultrasonic recorders, and acoustic call recorders. And they'll all be placed out in a grid-based fashion. 2 of the grid sites are specifically on tracks or roads, as well as a riparian zone, just to target some of those key species that use that habitat. So things like frogs in the riparian zones and microbats, which use the tracks as flyways. So the first type of detector that we're going to be using is an infrared motion activated camera. And this is the type of detector that recorded that amazing photo that Libby put up at the start of this presentation. These can pick up images of animals without disturbing them with flashes and noise, and they can also take photographs at night. And since most of our animals are nocturnal, that is a good thing. The detector is placed on a tree and angled towards a bait station with peanut butter and oats mix to attract the animals into the field of view. The method aims to detect ground-dwelling fauna such as mammals, reptiles, and macropods. And here's some examples of the images that we get from the cameras. These are from the autumn pilot. So we have a potteroo, swamp wallaby, and a dingo as well. That's pretty exciting seeing those things. The second method is ultrasonic call detectors, which pick up the calls from microbats, which are generally inaudible to humans. So we can't actually hear them with our ears. And there's a number of devices that can do this, but here we've got some pictures of one that's called an anabat. And this is what the files look like on the other end. And basically you have to have an understanding of the different types of bats to actually interpret this stuff. But there are people that are working on some methods to basically automate this process and make it a lot easier so that a machine can do it for you. This first call here that you can see is a Gould's wattleback. And you can tell the difference between the calls based on the shape of the call. So this one's kind of a down sweeping tail, we call it. And there's also alternating kind of different pulses at a certain frequency. So this one is being called at 32 kilohertz, which makes it quite typical for this species. This one is East Coast free-tailback, and this species is actually listed as vulnerable in New South Wales. And you can see that this call looks quite different. It's around about the same kilohertz or frequency that the other call is being made at, but they're quite flat calls, which is quite distinct. The third detector type is an acoustic call detector. So this captures all of the animals that you can hear with your ears. So things like koalas, owls, birds, frogs, and gliders. And it can record daytime and nighttime active animals. And hopefully this works, but I'm going to show you what an output looks like from one of these files, and hopefully you'll hear it as well. It's a really interesting call, and I would love for you to get onto the chat and tell me what you think it is. I'll let you know at the end which one it is. Hopefully that came through all right. Okay, so to ensure that the monitoring would be enduring, we looked at other programs that are already collecting similar data and using the same sort of methods that we're proposing to join up the science. So the Wild Count program across national parks in Eastern Australia has been collecting data using cameras for the last 10 years at about 200 different sites in 146 national parks and reserves. And at the Commission, we were also working with Forestry Corp and the EPA to develop monitoring strategies under the Coastal IFOA. So under that program, they need to design a fauna monitoring program that targets focal fauna species to test the effectiveness of the conditions. And the details from that and the data can actually be used for our broader statewide occupancy monitoring program. So together with the Wild Count sites, these are two of the largest forest tenures that are going to be sampled as part of the program. But we need to extend this into the other tenures to make it a truly cross-tenure program. So this is where Forest Eye and our citizen science program comes into play. And we're looking to sample council managed reserves and Crown land as part of the monitoring. So the question on everybody's lips, how can you help? In autumn, we tested the field survey methods through a pilot in the northeast of the state across National Parks and Wildlife Service Wild Count sites, as well as the state forest areas that we've set up under that Coastal IFOA monitoring program. These photos are from the autumn pilot where we conducted some of these surveys in state forests. On the left-hand side there, you can see we're setting up a camera, and there's the bait station. And here we've got an ultrasonic detector as well as a ultrasonic detector here. So recording bats and koalas and frogs. This is a bit of a riparian zone here. But the spring pilot is even bigger than what we did in autumn. And so we really need everybody's help for this. The aim for the spring pilot is to complete surveys in the north of the state where we did them in autumn, but also extending to the south of the state. So we're going to have sites in state forests and national park wild count sites in the south of the state, as well as the northeast. We're also going to be trialling a pilot with the Tamworth Local Aboriginal Land Council and the Bambai Rangers to establish fauna monitoring sites on Indigenous protected areas. But our Forest Eye citizen science program is going to also be included, COVID permitting, on the south coast. So we're planning to establish FMIP monitoring sites using that grid-based approach on council-managed reserves and Crown land. And this aims to expand the tenures of the program. We're planning on getting teams trained up to assist with ongoing long-term monitoring. We'll have a fauna ecologist assisting with the training, and we'll be holding this and setting up devices in the field over the last weekend in October as part of the South Coast BioBlitz. If you'd like to be involved, Gita, hopefully, is putting a link to the EOI form in the chat function now. But if you can't assist us in the field, but you still want to help, we're also setting up opportunities for citizen scientists to be involved in the project in other ways. We're working with AXA and Digibol to set up a citizen science expedition for the camera images that were collected during the autumn pilot. And the aim is to have citizen scientists tagging images as well for the spring survey, particularly the data that's going to be collected through the Forest Eye program. We're also developing call recognisers for the acoustic detectors for some of the key fauna species, and these are going to be tested using the data collected during the pilot program. And I'm investigating opportunities to get the community involved in this side of the project as well. So watch this space. And that's about all from me for now. Please do get in contact via the EOI if you would like to be involved in the South Coast pilot. We're hoping that we can expand this pilot when it's successful into basically other areas throughout New South Wales. So if you're an interested group that would look at expanding, over the next year or so into your area to look at council managed reserves and Crown land, then please get in contact. And I just wanted to provide a quick little thank you of the Atlas of Life for having me today and working with us on this exciting program. We're really stoked that you are involved in it, and your enthusiasm really helps it a lot. I also wanted to thank AXA and Project Checkpoint ETA for your assistance with the pilot so far. And if you'd like to receive any updates on the Forest Monitoring and Improvement Program, you can sign up to our mailing list on that website there.
Okay, thank you very much, Cassie, for telling us all about the project. I think we can now open it up for questions. We've got one or two already in the chat. It's good to see people from all over the place. Where are the questions? What's the role of citizen scientists in this project? I think you've outlined that a little bit, but if you want to expand it.
Yeah, sure. So basically, when we were looking to expand across tenures, we were looking to sample council managed reserves and Crown land. And we thought that the best way to do that was to really form partnerships with some of the citizen science groups that are already potentially doing some work in these areas. So that's where we, as part of our citizen science strategy, got involved with groups like Libby's, the Atlas of Life, to actually talk through that process. And we're also working with council on those as well. So basically the citizen scientists would be helping by getting trained up in the different techniques on how to use all of the different devices, how to manage the data that's coming out of them, how to record all of the information that we need, but also providing that service into the future and teaching other people how to do it as well.
So what do you think citizen scientists will get out of it then? What reason is there for them to be involved, would you say?
Yeah, sure. Look, I think something that I've noticed quite a bit with citizen science is that people want to be involved in something that's going to make an impact and make a difference. So I think, by collecting data that's actually going to be going towards, evidence-based decision-making is a really important thing. And I think it's really important to get people involved in that. People want to be aware of what different species live in their own backyard. And this is a great way to do that as well. Obviously, we're going to have all of the images up on Digibol. Fingers crossed that all works. And, they'll be able to go up and have a look and tag some of the images and try and guess at some of the species that are coming across our cameras. All of this information is going to be publicly available. and it's going to be able to be used by researchers into the future, as well as government departments when they actually want to know what's happening in these areas in terms of biodiversity.
So the scientists that are there will be coming and actually giving some of their expertise, explaining what we're looking for, explaining the techniques and doing the training. And will the scientists be there all the way along, or will they just be there at the beginning?
Yeah, look, I think that that's something that we're trying to test out, exactly how that's going to work into the future. And this is only just a pilot program, and I'm sure that there's going to be a lot of keen people from other areas of New South Wales that would love to have this happening in their patch as well. And hopefully the program will expand into those areas. But I think we are kind of just trialing things at this stage. We want to know, we need to continue providing training. Is that going to be, an ongoing basis? Maybe once a year we hold a training session and get everybody together to actually relearn how to do things, and so that they can teach people in the community as well.
And I think one of the things that we know from citizen science research is that one of the things that makes it really meaningful to people is having feedback, is knowing what is being found and what does it mean, and if it is used for anything. So I think even though we may be working over a large area and the citizen science groups will be working in their own patch, then maybe coming together on a regular basis for that to find out how it's going is good. So can you tell me what's happening with the other research? I mean, fauna is one element of it, but then there must be when we go out into an area, and if we're going out to do these things, our people will probably be really interested in actually recording the biodiversity of those areas and the plants and the birds that they see and the insects as well. Is that part of what you're looking for?
Yeah, at this stage, we're trying to keep it quite simple. So we've got those key focus species that we're looking at, and we've designed the methods around recording those species. Obviously, any information on those forests is important, and using iNaturalist and other methods to actually record them is fantastic. And we are holding it during the BioBlitz, knowing full well that people are probably going to see a lot of other things while they're out there. So hopefully they can record those additional species using things like that.
Yeah, that's good.
Hi, Libby. There's quite a few questions in the Q&A, and look, are you happy for me to let people talk to those?
Yes, can you see those, Cassie? Are you?
No, I'm just, are you happy to let me get the person in the audience to ask the question?
You can run.
Can I first of all just say that all those people that guessed that weird noise was a koala are correct. So well done, you. That was actually a female koala followed by a male koala, and that was actually the sound of them during a mating event. So yeah, it's really cool to get something like that on a recorder, and to be able to share that with people. So well done, whoever guessed that.
There's a question from Alan Ford. Alan, are you able to speak to us? If not, I can read it out. I'll read it out. Does the program cover the travelling stock reserves and routes?
That's a really good question, and I would really like to expand it into that. That's obviously one of the main areas of Crown land in particular, particularly in that Western region. But I think that, that's definitely something that we want to investigate. At the moment, we are kind of looking at an area for the pilot that doesn't necessarily have those travelling stock reserves. But hopefully that will be something that we can look at when we're expanding into the new areas.
Okay, Naomi, if you've got a question up there, I might let you. Are you able to ask your question, Naomi?
I think I just unmuted. We'd like to buy an acoustic call recorder for our local forest group, and I just wondered if you knew of a good brand or a good website or something like that.
Yeah, definitely. Look, I think there's a range of difference that you can get with those devices. So you can get a very cheap one that's called an Audio Moth, and it records both the ultrasonic as well as the normal kind of calls too. But the only problem with those is that they are a little bit flimsy and they're not as sensitive as some of the other detectors. I think they set you back about $100, so they're pretty cheap compared to some of the others. The ones that we've been using with the forestry program are the Song Meter Minis, and they're about $700 odd per unit. So there's quite a difference in terms of price. They're a little bit easier to use though. I think you've got to have a bit of knowledge about how to use the different devices. That's probably one of the things that I will say. They're a little bit tricky if you're not familiar with them. But I do know that the New South Wales Koala Monitoring Program has been using the audio moths for koalas throughout the state. And I know that they're currently doing a big program out in the Pilliga where they've got audio moths basically out for koalas everywhere. So they are definitely being used. They're just maybe not as high quality, the data that you get at the end of them. But it's definitely something for community groups that probably will be the most suitable method, I suppose.
Thank you.
I've got Jess Bettinen.
Yep. Hey, Doug, can you hear me?
I can.
Yep. So my question was about site size, because I know that you're interested in working on Crown reserves and council land, and I just wonder whether the forest types that are represented in our reserve system are similar to the ones that are on these smaller pieces of public land. So can you speak to that, please?
We've got Andrew with us, so perhaps he can have a chat with that, because I know you've been speaking together.
Yep. Hey, everyone. Yeah, Jess, we've got some restrictions. The size of the plots needs to be quite large, is my understanding, isn't it, Cassie? So we're working through how we can best fit those grids into the reserve system that council has, which is quite linear along the coast. So we don't have the big blocks that allow for that for nested sort of or side-by-side grids. But yeah, we're just working through that at the moment to try and work out the best areas that are public land, council land, big enough, and have those other characteristics of the stream and the track going through them. So yeah, we're just working that out now.
And it's probably worthwhile noting that, you know, this whole program is in a pilot phase still, and it is possible that this may change. It may, you know, go down to 2 sites instead of the 4 grid sites, if we can show that, you know, that's all that we need to actually collect the data to inform decision making. So it's all in a bit of state of flux at the moment, because it is really just piloting at this stage. But this is all stuff that we're going to be learning through the process. And yeah, obviously where we do need to modify things, that's something that we've considered and we're going to take into account, and hopefully we can get some sites in some of those council areas.
And Cassie, we've got quite a few people asking whether we're going to be doing citizen science work in the other tenures as well. Is that part of the plan?
In the what? Sorry, I didn't quite get that, Libby.
Tenures, in the other forest tenures, new national parks and state forests and things like that.
Sure. So state forests, under the Coastal IFOA, Forest Corp are doing their monitoring program themselves. At this stage, I don't believe that they have any citizen science component to that, but there's always room for, you know, discussing that option. I know that with national parks, the wild count sites, they often do get volunteers to come and help put out the cameras. So there's probably some opportunities with that program going forward. Because it's been going on for 10 years though, it's kind of at the end of its funding cycle, and we're still kind of waiting to hear what that's going to look like going forward, and how we can incorporate that into the FMIP more broadly too. So look, definitely there is the potential for citizen science to be involved, and we're hoping that the images across all of the different tenures will be available on Digivol. So basically, you know, everybody can actually have a look at all of that. Plus the data coming out of all of these different programs will all be available and open as well. So that's a really important thing as well as part of this project.
And we've got a question from Jocelyn asking about the areas that have been burned, and in terms of what the forest monitoring improvement program what its relationship with the burnt forest is. So could you perhaps
Yeah. So our pilot sites aimed to have a mixture of both burnt and unburnt areas in them. So that was definitely something when we were initially identifying where we should go for these initial pilot sites. That was something we thought was really important to do, just to kind of look at the logistics of getting around those sites, and also looking at the different fauna assemblages basically coming back into those burnt areas. So look, yeah, we do have a mixture of burnt versus unburnt. We've also got other disturbances, you know, in some of our sites. So some of our sites are on state forest land, so some of them have been subjected to harvesting. So there's a whole heap of different things that we're looking at to incorporate as part of that program. It's not just the most pristine areas that have never been disturbed by anything. We actually want to get a really good representative sample of basically all the different types of forest out there.
Mm-hmm. And as it's a long-term project, then you'll see the evolution of the forest as time goes on.
That's right, yeah.
Okay, I think the only other question we've got left is, can you play the koalas again, please?
Oh.
That's a very good, unless anybody's got any other questions, then perhaps that's a very nice, oh, and Chibo is also saying, can we support by writing to somewhere to get the funding raised? But
yeah, we're actually, we're going through the process of providing a business case for ongoing funding for our role in overseeing this program. So that's actually happening at the moment. So yeah, look, if I do find out anything that can help with that space, I'll let Libby know and she can maybe get it out to all the different channels.
Short-term funding for ecology projects is really, really, really difficult. And if we have got people who are interested in spending time over a long term in a particular area, then it would be brilliant if we could get long-term funding to allow that to be supported. So I think we'll round up there and say thank you very much for you and Geeta. We appreciate all your help with us. We're very excited about working with you on this project. And we're looking forward to your guys hopefully coming down whenever they can to start this work. Yes, exactly. So I'll just say thank you very much to everybody that's here. Please sign up, put in the EOIs your interest, and those people in our area will obviously talk to you about setting that up. But people in other areas, Geeta and Cassie will hold your names as the project expands. And we'll learn more about it. But this has been a very good first way of sharing this, and we'll now have the presentation. We'll be able to put that on the website so more people can see it. So can you find that recording again for us, do you think, Cassie?
Yeah, I think, Doug, you're just sharing your screen at the moment.
Okay, sorry.
That's okay.
And this is a very good way to go out. Carl,
Just want to make a quick comment about the other activities on for the rest of Science Week, Libby.
sorry, yes.
But Cassie, you play the sound.
Okay, I'll see if this works through Windows Media Player. Here we go. Oop. All right, hopefully that worked.
Fantastic. And thank you, Libby. Thank you, Cassie. Thank you, Geeta, and all the people with their wonderful questions. I just wanted to remind people, you'll get a link at the end of this presentation, either in your browser or by email in a post-presentation email. And that's an evaluation link, and we'd love you to fill in the evaluation. That's important for us. And also to remind you that tonight, if you're interested in how you can reduce your greenhouse emissions. David Howard from Clean Energy for Eternity will be doing a case study on his solar battery system in his home, with a couple of comments from electric car owners as well. Tomorrow at 2 o'clock, we've got Jo Lane, formerly with National Parks, but she has her own company now, Sea Health Products, looking at different local species of seaweed to produce health and wellness products. And she's been doing quite a lot of research in that area, and that's going to be interesting. David Nichols, last year, one of our popular Science Week sessions was the night sky, and he's doing the August night sky tomorrow night, Friday night, 5:30 to 6:15 p.m. And look, on Sunday, this is a really interesting one. Wally and Minka. Wally is the Bourne underwater submersible remotely operated vehicle and takes photographs of things underwater. And Minka, a student at Bega High School, she's in year 12. She was an Environment Award winner this year, but her and her dad have taken these incredible photos of critters underneath the Tafra Wharf. And the Tafra Wharf has received funding for heritage restoration, which I think, everyone in the community feels is a good thing too, but there's going to be substantial impact on those organisms. So we've got David Buckley, who's the council project manager, coming along. We've got Jade Rankin, who's from Dive Eden, just telling us about some of the amazing things that they've seen under there. And if you're interested in that sort of interaction on a project with science involved, and how the community through that citizen science work can help influence how a project is managed. I guess, Libby, one of the interesting questions about citizen science is that, we've got the situation with climate science, where governments around the world ignore the scientific data. So I guess there's a question for the citizen science community in how that information is put to governments when there's significant environmental outcomes that need to be pursued by government.
Well, that's right. And we have coming up not next month, in October, we've got the Australian Citizen Science Conference coming up. So you should look out for that, because that's actually will showcase a lot of the big citizen science projects in Australia and around the world, and how we're actually contributing, hopefully influencing governments. So there is that as well coming up. So we're part of a growing band of people who are producing data that government should be listening to.
And that's what another one of the big themes of National Science Week, of course, which is what we're here to celebrate. So enjoy the rest of Science Week. I hope wherever you are in lockdown, I know it's been extended by another week, which is very difficult news for many people in our community. So go well, stay safe, and we look forward to seeing you at other Science Week activities.
Yes, thanks.
And I get to press the end button. Geeta pressed the start button 10 minutes early, but...
I made it more exciting, Doug. I just had to do something.
Have you got an end button there? I should let you press it.
Yeah, shall I?
Yeah, I'll let you end the meeting for everyone.
Thanks, everyone.